If you haven't done your rookie draft, you are in luck because today we are bringing you an updated rookie rankings, top 40 players that you should be going out and trying to draft for your dynasty team. Zach, take us to your first tier.
Yes, and this is super flex, by the way, in
Yes.
case anyone is wondering. All right, tier one hasn't really changed too much for me. It's, at some points I put Caleb Williams up there on his own, but ultimately I have in my own drafts been tearing down inside the top four. So I think there's like a really strong top four this year.
Yeah.
That's Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jaden Daniels, and Malik Neighbors. So that is my top four. I've heard nothing but incredible things out of camp. We love these prospects. They all got incredible draft capital. I don't see any reason to not think about these names. Like, for example, if you told me, hey, I really want the 101 so I can draft Caleb. I know that Daniels is going to be at the 103 or the 104. Do you want to trade back to the 103 and we'll do a pick swap? You'll get a first next year. I'll get your second next year. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. And I've said this many times before, but I would not be surprised if Jaden Daniels outscores Caleb Williams as a rookie quarterback with what he does on the ground as a rusher. And funnily enough, we're already seeing people draft Jaden Daniels way ahead of Caleb in redraft leagues. But I mean, we're getting to that point of the season where we're starting to think about redraft leagues. Underdog, you're drafting in best ball, but even in sleeper, like Jaden Daniels everywhere is being drafted ahead of Caleb Williams. Who would have thought? Because we all know that rushing quarterbacks have top 5 ceilings, even if you're a rookie. So these are just incredible names. If you're in the top 4, I don't mind tearing down to try and get more value because I think they all could end up being the most valuable asset out of this class this time next year.
Yeah, I would say these guys are untouchables, right? Depending on what, like Zach was mentioning, like if you can go tier down and get something great, but I'm only moving Caleb Williams for Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson's, right? CJ Stroud's, right? Same thing with Mark Harrison Jr. And for Malik Neighbors, same thing with Jaden Daniels. I'm getting only top tier guys, Chase, Jefferson. I'm not tearing down from these guys unless I'm getting absolute gems that is already proven in the league here. All right, go to tier 2 then.
All right, tier 2 is Drake May, JJ McCarthy, and Rome Odunze. Drake May, we've seen this story before, right? A quarterback that we like going to a situation that nobody loves. Last year, CJ Stroud, we saw that happen. Could that be Drake May this year? Could he be this year's CJ Stroud? Maybe, but more times than not, if you got a bad team, it might take them a while to kind of get there. As far as JJ goes, at least I can only speak for myself. I've always really liked JJ as a prospect. Then he goes out, gets top 15 draft capital, and lands in the best situation. If you could choose all the quarterbacks in this year's draft, where do you want them to go? Minnesota would be number 1 on everyone's list, unquestionable. Like throwing to Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson long-term with Kevin O'Connell. Yes, JJ is not going to be the guy that you want to draft if you need a quarterback to start this year, but he's the perfect player if you have the 106 and you got 2 good quarterbacks already in Superflex. Put him on your taxi. Don't expect anything this year. And he's really just kind of that extremely fun wild card sitting on your bench ready to go. And then with Rome Odunze, love him. Incredible talent. Great draft capital as well. Linking up with Caleb Williams. But I do have lower expectations for his rookie season than the average person. I just think with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, you're not going to have a chance to break out like Marvin or Malik Neighbors. In my personal opinion, I don't think you have a chance. Let's say this. I don't think you have a chance for like 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown season.
Agreed.
I think you absolutely will be there at some point, but I don't know this year if Keenan stays healthy and DJ stays healthy that's a range of outcome for him.
Yeah, I think this tier is like really high upside, but lower your expectations, right? We love Drake May.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going to be happening? JJ McCarthy, we don't even know if he's starting first half of the season.
Yep.
But we are still drafting him here in that first half of the NFL draft, and the same thing with Rome Odunze. So completely agree there. Take us to your tier 3.
All right, tier 3. This is where things they haven't changed drastically, but it's just reshaped a little bit, I would say. Brian Thomas Jr. still going to be my wide receiver 4 in the class. I know not everybody agrees, but I think he went to the situation where he's desperately needed. He got good draft capital. He's connected to a quarterback that I like. I think a lot of people are overthinking BTJ. Lad McConkey. Y'all know Lad, the space creator.
Yep.
Y'all know I love him. Xavier Worthy, Brock Bowers, and now Jonathan Brooks has moved up a tier for me. That is probably the most recent move in my rookie rankings. and then Bo Nix. I do think
boy.
Jonathan Brooks has just separated himself from, Trey Benson at this point. I love Trey Benson. I love both of these guys. But if you're saying, all right, what are your expectations for year one? I expect Jonathan Brooks to be the number one running back when he's healthy. With Trey Benson, we're relying on a injury from James Conner for him to really break out in year one. So that's kind of where the difference is between those two names. As far as Brock Bowers goes, if this is a tight end premium, I think you can absolutely take him ahead of Brian Thomas. I have no problem with that.
Sure.
But in a non-tight end premium, let's say you're in a start 11, I'm just going to look towards those round one wide receivers and Ladd McConkey, who got really good draft capital instead. So great tier. I love this tier. The late first this year is more valuable than it's ever been, I think.
I completely agree. And the biggest thing that I see here when we were doing our rookie drafts, and, obviously we compare our rankings all the time, is Bo Nix. You have Bo Nix. I think that's the 201 now, if I'm not mistaken, where you currently have him in a super flex. So take us a little bit to that. And yes, like you said, you probably say Jonathan Brooks kind of proved himself a little bit more, is more exciting. But Bo Nix still first round draft capital in the quarterback room.
Look, I'm not anti Bo Nix at all. That's why he's in this tier.
Okay.
I really want people to look at this tier and say it's interchangeable. Hey, you want to take Jonathan Brooks at the 108? I'm okay with that. You want to take Bo Nix at the 108? I'm also okay with that. You're in a tight end premium and Bowers is there at the 108, then go for it. It's more about these guys I would view very similarly. Like if you were to say, hey, I actually do need a quarterback, and it's a 2-quarterback league. Of course, I'm okay to take Bo Nix. I love the draft capital. I love that Sean Payton, this is his guy, and I also think that he has a lot of similarities to Drew Brees. I'm not saying they're the same player, but as far as like their IQ, Bo Nix processes the game really, really well. So yeah, I don't mind if Nix is your 108, if that's what you're asking. I guess. Like,
exactly.
I think it's more fluid, really, from the 108 to the 201. And what I did in a lot of my rookie drafts, Badaki, is if I had the 108, I shopped that thing like crazy. Unless a Dunze was available, I'm shopping that thing all day long. In the draft, if it's a slow draft, before the draft, if I can move from the 108 to the 112, or from the 108 to the 111 or the 201 or whatever, and I can get serious return, then I'm doing that every single day because I'm fine with any one of these names.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I still love my brother Bo Nix. Come on, baby. Talk it up.
I like him too.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-Bo.
Yeah, neither am I. Tier 4.
Okay, tier 4. This is where I would put Trey Benson, my favorite running back in the class. But like I said, expectations are different this year for him and Jonathan Brooks. Michael Penix Jr., we talked about him a lot after the NFL draft. I still think he is going to be the steal of your rookie drafts. Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Legette, and Keon Coleman. Those 3 names, I don't know that I have really any expectations for them as rookies. They all got drafted to good places or places where they could, develop. But I don't think I'm really relying on any of these guys to produce for me straight away in my Dynasty League, right? I mean, I think about Brian Thomas, Ladd McConkey, Xavier Worthy, Brooks, those guys at the top, Bowers, Adunze. I'm expecting those guys to contribute to my roster this year. I don't feel that way about Pearsall, Legette, and Coleman. So, and last thing I'll say about Pearsall, if Ayuk is traded, you're going to get the steal of the draft if you took Pearsall somewhere in the mid to late second round of your
come drafts. On. Trade Ayuk, because I got a lot of slick Ricky here. And look, I understand with the belief in potential production coming into year 1. I think if there is a guy that I will be excited for production in this tier 4, for me, that would be Xavier Legette. With things that are coming out of camp from Dave Canellis and how they want to be utilizing him in this offense, no question Deontay Johnson is going to be the number 1 wide receiver there. But I wouldn't be surprised if Xavier Legette has shines of excitement from the community, maybe by week 8 or week 10 of the season, which is going to be really exciting for Xavier, especially with the way they utilize Mike Evans. Not saying he is Mike Evans, but the way they utilize Mike Evans and how they want to utilize Xavier Legette potentially in that same role with that size and speed that he brings. So completely agree in the tier 4.
All right, let's go on to tier 5 then. But just before we do, we'll let you guys know that if you want to support this channel and get your Dynasty team reviewed, you've probably seen us live streaming throughout this offseason, helping people build great Dynasty teams. If you want that experience, Very simple. There's two ways. Number one, you can be a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. That is your first option. We think it's the best bang for your buck. You also unlock so many premium tools on the site. The other option is regardless of what promo code you use at sign up, or even if you aren't a member, you can get a a la carte team review from us through the website. So those are two options. They're both in the pinned comment. Check it out. And by the way, big shout out to everybody who has been signing up and supporting, because we, for the first time, have been able to bring on a video editor. We're starting to kind of build a team because of your support. You guys are allowing us to do that, and we're hoping that it's going to free us up to do even more on the channel for you guys to improve the content. So big shout out to you guys. But tier 5, I have 5A and 5B because I do see a range of outcome where the guys in 5B are just as valuable as the guys in 5A. But if I'm in a super flex 12-man draft and I'm looking from the 206 to like the 301 range, these are the names I'm thinking about. Jalen Polk, Jermaine Burton, Troy Franklin, Blake Corum, Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Wright, and Ben Sinnott. I will say this. If you have a pick that's around the 209, the 210, the 211, and you also have a pick in the 303 range, I've always been prioritizing running backs in the second round. The reason being is those running backs don't typically last till round 3. A lot of these wide receivers might. So, for example, I have the 209 and the 302. Well, I'm going to probably take Blake Corum at the 209 and at the 302 see if Troy Franklin is there, for example. So just typically those running backs don't fall into the second round. That's why I prioritize them a little bit in that scenario, if that makes sense.
I think a lot of people in the community would have a lot of picks in this range here. Who is somebody if you had multiple leagues, right? Let's say you are in 6 leagues and who is somebody that you're taking 50% of here in this tier? So you can be drafting them 3 times out of your 6 leagues, hypothetically.
That's probably Jermaine Burton for me. I really love Jermaine Burton. Love him as a player. I think he can play inside. I think he can play outside. He's an incredible route runner, downfield threat, pretty good speed. He goes to Cincinnati. We know that clearly there's tension between T. Higgins and Cincinnati long term.
Sure.
My thing is, Tyler Boyd is gone. I feel like Jermaine Burton's going to fill that role from day one. And Tyler Boyd in the Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow era is averaging like 90 targets, 10 points per game. If you got that from Jermaine Burton in year 1, you would be ecstatic on what his year 2 outlook could be. And the difference between Boyd and Burton in that role is T. Higgins, like this team is probably already thinking about post T. Higgins. And if they just drafted Jermaine Burton, I feel like they're going to be throughout this offseason trying to give him more and more work. What is the ceiling of this player? How much can we rely on him? Can he be the number 2 in this offense after T. Higgins? So instead of Boyd being like slotted into that third role, I think you'll see a scenario where second half of the season, his role might continually grow. And similar to Jaden Reed didn't get a lot of targets, right? But his touchdown equity was so high. I think you could see something similar for a Jermaine Burton in the second half of the season for the Bengals.
Okay. So Jermaine Burton is the guy you guys should be going out and spending that stock on. For me, Jalen Polk, if anyone cares.
I love Jalen Polk too. Absolutely. I think that's a great choice as well.
Yeah. All right. Take us to your tier 5B, excuse me.
5B. Yeah. So we've got Corley there. That's your guy. Roman Wilson, Adonai Mitchell, Jalen McMillan, and Javon Baker. And I imagine the one player that people are really going to want to talk about is Adonai Mitchell.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, completely agree.
I feel like we've talked about this a lot, so I don't want to get too far into it. Just simply put, I think Anthony Richardson is a fantastic fantasy quarterback. I think Shane Steichen is a fantastic head coach. His offense is incredible. However, I just don't know if I can rely on Anthony Richardson to support 2 wide receivers in fantasy football. Pittman's the clear number 1. I think people are discounting how good Josh Downs was last year. So a lot of people are telling you to draft Adonai Mitchell as like the top of 5A, like ahead of Polk. Some people are taking him ahead of Keon or Leggett or Pearsall. I just can't get there personally. I have low expectations for Adonai Mitchell as a rookie, a part of an offense where the quarterback has not historically shown us any evidence that he can support a fantasy wide receiver. So I'm just lower on him than other people, and that's okay. I just think I don't see his value really drastically improving in Dynasty in year 1.
I completely agree. I think either major injury has to happen to Pittman, Josh Downs, and a huge step for Anthony Richardson has to be taken in this year for Adonai Mitchell to be recognized. And I'll just add this. We loved his talent. We loved his film. He was a top 7 wide receiver in our pre-draft rankings. At least for me specifically, the landing spot situation is not something that we are in love with here with Adonai Mitchell. So completely agree.
And we can't pretend that like quarterback play doesn't matter or situation doesn't matter or the type of offense you're in doesn't matter. I mean, every year we see players that we absolutely love and we don't adjust to those situations and we're disappointed with what those players are worth in their second year. And as patient as people are in Dynasty, it's patience. The long run. You got to be honest. If a player underperforms as a rookie, they will be less valuable than they were as a rookie. So it's just how it goes.
And I agree. And like you kind of mentioned, my guy, Malachi Corley, I think he could be a phenomenal wide receiver too on this Jets offense, specifically with Aaron Rodgers. Garrett Wilson, easily the wide receiver 1 there. I am not concerned about Mike Williams. I am not loving the reports coming out of camp and everything, how he has been progressing with his ACL tear. I think he will get onto the field, but most likely in the second half of the season, where I'm projecting Malachi Corley has already established a decent role, maybe a flex option for your team for specifically this year and maybe growing in next year. So keep that in mind. All right, last 2 tiers here if you want to take us through it.
Yeah, sleepers. These are guys late round 3, early round 4 that you should be targeting. Ray Davis. I think Ray Davis is a very good player. And if James Cook suffers any injury, I wouldn't be surprised if Ray Davis really establishes a role.
Yeah,
Bucky Irving, the unfortunate thing for Bucky is like I wanted him to go somewhere like Kansas City where he could really complement a guy like Pacheco. I don't know that he complements Rachaad White. I feel like you're getting a worse version of Rachaad White. No disrespect. Audric Estime, interesting position. No clear RB1 in Denver. Kamani Vidal, everyone's favorite sleeper. Everyone thinks he's going to be a superstar. The reality is, round 6 running backs have the worst hit rate in the last decade. And I've been trying to help people lower expectations for Kamani Vidal. And everyone's like, no way. Like, he's absolutely ahead of Dobbins and Gus. It's not even close. Well, they just came out with a depth chart today. And they were very clear in saying Gus is number 1, Dobbins is 2, Kamani is 3. That could change in season if those guys get injured. Luke McCaffrey, I think he is my favorite sleeper in this. Him and Tyrone Tracy, those 2 guys, my favorite sleepers in this tier. Because I think they could realistically carve out roles for them in year 1. Like, Luke McCaffrey is waking up at 5 a.m. with Jaden Daniels every single day. Getting in there, getting into the watch film, getting some chemistry. Tyrone Tracy, I think Devin Singletary, he could steal some of the work from him. And then Braylon Allen. If Breece Hall goes down, they have a great backup in Braylon Allen as well. And then dart throws, just a bunch of names that if you're in the 4th round, you can throw a dart at. Tez Walker, Sanders, Theo, Eric All, Brennan Rice, Arindo, Shipley, Rattler, Coing, Thrash.
Yeah, who's the bullseye for you here? If you had closed your eyes, you got a dartboard right in front of you, you want to land on the bullseye. Who's that?
Oh my gosh.
That's a tough one in this tier, but is somebody you just
I don't know if there is. I don't know if there is a bullseye, but I would say this. All right, how about we play this game? If these players all exceed expectations, who will be the most valuable? Spencer Rattler.
Sure.
If Spencer Rattler exceeds expectations, that means he's maybe starting for this team at some point. And even if he's not a good quarterback, if he starts, his value will be more than any of these other names, in my opinion.
No question, especially behind Derek Carr, which we just saw reports the other day that him and, if I'm not mistaken, Jake Hayner is going to be him or somebody. I'm pretty sure it's Jake Hayner competing for that QB2 position, and it's wide open right now with Spencer Rattler. And we love his talent, just can't really piece it onto the field, at least for me, in the last couple of years he's been in college. But he has all the tangibles to be a quarterback that we can believe in fantasy. Can he get it, take it to the next point? For me, with my scenario,
who would you say? Yeah, so you're closing your eyes, trying to hit a bullseye.
Trying to hit a bullseye, I think in the best scenario, I would probably say Brendan Rice. Quentin Johnson's not the guy.
That's a great pick.
Quentin Johnson's not the guy. Josh Palmer is just a role player, but Brendan Rice has the legacy blood. And Brendan Rice is in a situation with an elite quarterback in Justin Herbert, who has produced fantasy relevant wide receivers.
Yeah, hit rate's rough on all these names that you're going to talk about. So pretty much from sleeper down, the hit rate's pretty much awful. But all right, let us know what you guys think. Hit the like button. Hopefully, if you got drafts coming up, this is going to be helpful for you. We appreciate you. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you very soon. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.